Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Science Fiction Day 3, or as the Germans would say, Tag 3. Sounds like DRY, but spelled DREI, Day 3. Today, we will be working with science fiction, as you can tell by the title of this one. Our learning targets are you will read and summarize a longer science fiction story. We've gone all the way up to, I think, 6 pages. It's crazy, I tell you, absolutely crazy. You will answer text-dependent comprehension questions. So I'm going to read the story, and then there you will answer the questions in your packet. And then finally, build oral language and vocabulary. Like we do with all lessons, or not all lessons, but the vast majority of our lessons, we're going to start with a little review. Each day for the past week and a half or so, we've been working with our fix up monitor strategy. What we do when understanding and comprehension breaks down. Remember, the sole purpose of reading is so that you understand something. And if you're not understanding it and you're just staring at the words, you're wasting time. Now, I know a lot of you enjoy wasting time, and there's a lot of things that, I enjoy wasting time too. But if we're going to be wasting time, let's waste time doing something like playing video games or things like that. If we're going to be reading, let's actually do it to learn or to gather information or to entertain ourselves, okay? Not just stare at a blank page, because we don't really have time to do that, all right? So, ways to monitor and fix up, okay? You're reading, you come across a sentence, you don't understand it. What do we do? Well, sometimes we can reread the sentence to clarify. Okay, what did I just miss? Let me reread that to make sure I understand it correctly, okay? You can stop and think about what you read. This means this, okay? You can stop and write about what you read in a writing notebook, okay? A reading notebook, all right? You can ask questions. What did the author mean when they said that? Ooh, I wonder what that means. Ooh, I wonder why that's important, all right? You can read ahead. Maybe at that point in time, the author isn't giving you any information, and you understand everything you read. It just doesn't make sense quite yet. Perhaps in the next couple of paragraphs, the author will enlighten you more. And then finally, you can talk about what you have read, okay? Either with someone who have read the book, or some super genius who knows everything, or someone who just thinks they know everything, but someone who maybe is a more sophisticated reader who can help clarify something for you. There's nothing wrong with doing any of these, boys and girls, okay? Quite honestly, I don't think we do these enough. I don't think that we slow down enough. I don't think we really think about what we're reading, but rather we just try and get through everything, and then because everything seems to be a race. And what I'd like you to do, and what we've been working on the vast majority of the year, and what we will continue to work on the rest of the year, is slowing down and taking our time and doing something well. Because if you're going to spend your time reading, then I want you to make sure you're reading books that are appropriate for you, which is what we've been working on. But I want you to understand what you're reading, because a lot of us, sometimes we just don't care, and when we really need to start putting forth the effort to be more successful. All right? All right, so that's our fix up monitoring strategy. We will be working with this at least the rest of the week, and we will be revisiting it periodically throughout the remainder of the year. All right, so let's turn the page to features of science fiction. Remember, start at 12 o'clock, and we will go around the clock here. The story imagines the effect of science and technology on people and society, whatever it might be. Okay, it could have a positive effect, it could have a negative effect. We don't know. All depends upon whatever tone the author is trying to do, and whatever lesson, okay, whatever point the author is trying to make. The story often has an element that is based on science fact. Okay, there is a hint of fact to everything. All right. Now, oftentimes when it comes through, it becomes less scientific and more fiction, but there's a hint of science. Um, the story's tone is often dark than light. Oftentimes we've talked about major conflicts in literature and what we read, and we talk about person versus person. Okay, that's if you read Fudge Mania, that's Sheila versus Peter, or we talk about person versus nature. If you've read My Side of the Mountain or Hatchet, you have person versus nature, and sometimes you can have person versus technology, and oftentimes in science fiction, that's the conflict we have. We have person versus technology, and man or woman or the society is out to get this technology that's just gone run amok and destroyed the world or whatever it might be. But in a story like this, oftentimes that tone, how it feels, like the colors and things are much darker, and they have an ominous kind of dangerous. They have a dangerous kind of feel to it. Okay, it'd almost be kind of almost a saddened feel to it. The story may include aliens, parallel universes, space and time travel, or inventions that have gone out of control, or people using inventions in a way that they shouldn't be. Okay, the story can have a realistic setting or a fantastic, futuristic setting. It could have both. A book, A Wrinkle in Time, starts in a very normal setting, and it all of a sudden there's some travel, and then all of a sudden they're in a very futuristic world. Okay, the story may be trying to make a point about how we live today. Okay, and oftentimes it's kind of like the parables or Aesop's fables, that stories that are told to kind of teach the reader a lesson. And writers do that all the time, just like teachers do that all the time, or parents do that all the time, or the principal does it all the time. They use stories to teach lessons, and that's what science fiction often is. And oftentimes that science fiction is a warning, especially when they talk about the overuse or inventions out of control. Okay, it's a warning and a hey, pay attention to what's going on around you. So those are the features of science fiction. All right. Today I should have put these so they went scrolling up, because that's so much more cool than just them popping up and you seeing them all right away. Find a copy of the closed reading book. They are by the Drinking Fountain. There's multiple copies. There's one for everyone. So I know you're all very excited this. You don't have to get up and run and crush people to get them. Don't worry, everyone. There will be a copy for everyone. Okay? Then, once you have the book, you will read the story Dream Pilot on pages 55 through 60 independently, which means you're going to read it all by yourself. Okay? And you will work on and you will do your best to use the fix-up monitoring strategies if you run into problems. Okay? Then, once you have read it independently, you are going to find a partner who has also read it independently. Okay? And you are going to reread the story Dream Pilot, still found on pages 55 to 60, together this time. First when you're reading to self, second time you're reading to someone. You're going to read with them. Okay? And one of the things I want you to do is I want you to work on asking each other questions about what's happening. So prior to switching and things like that, ask the reader what's going on to help them understand and to help you understand. And hopefully as a listener, you will be able to correct them if they're telling you something wrong. All right? And then the final thing, you will complete the page in your reading packet labeled Unit 4, Week 2, Day 3, which has a series of, not a series, but it has 3 questions. How does the author structure the story? How does the pilot's description of the monster, blah, 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 and what problem do both pilots have in common, blah, blah, blah. Okay? You will answer those questions, and you will do your best okay? And working with what we've been starting to work on with our study guide questions. Part of the question as part of the answer, okay? And then you were going to support all of your answers by citing specific information, clues, or evidence from the text. And that's one of the things we're really going to start focusing on. It's with study questions and with questions in the book, in stories like this, is if we're going to say something, we're going to cite specific information. We're going to give evidence on why we believe that. Okay? Because we can write anything, but the important part of what we're doing is that we're making connections with the text saying why it means this. Okay? So be prepared for a lot of discussion in future lessons and in guided reading groups about making sure that you are supporting your answers with specific examples from the text. Specific evidence from the text. Okay? Once you are done with the questions, you are going to put your packet back in your binder. You are going to put your closed book away, and then you are going to be done with this aspect. But, to summarize, today we read a more complex science fiction story, and we summarized the story structure, problem, and solution. Tomorrow we will reread the story and dig deeper into the text to analyze each character's point of view and how it influences the way they describe the events that unfold in their journal entries. Remember, sometimes we need to read a selection several times to notice different aspects of the text. And I want you to get used to that, and it's one of the things that we're going to start really paying attention to in our responses, and kind of as we start growing as readers in our guided reading groups. All right, so that's all I have for you today. I probably should have reminded you to pause the video when you're reading, but I think you should have been able to do all of this together and then finish up. So, one thing, make sure that you complete those questions and be ready to discuss those at some point in time. It might happen in your guided reading groups. But other than that, good work today, and we will talk to you. Well, I will talk to you soon, but the videos will talk to you tomorrow.